Look, I'll give you an example on the whole gay marriage thing. So when I became the leader of the opposition and I was heading for state parliament, so that would have been about April 2011, I went on Sky News on a Sunday morning and I was asked this question, Mr. Newman, do you support gay marriage? And I went, yeah, of course I do. Well, boy, didn't the proverbial hit the fan then, because apparently I was the first Conservative leader of a state political party in Australia to actually back it publicly. So I can tell you now, a world of the proverbial just rained down on me. I was in a lot of trouble. I really was. I had a lot of people in the party and people outside the party just really belting me.
So internal pressure.
Oh, yeah, belting me, saying, well, how dare you say that, et cetera, et cetera. So I was so far in front of the pack. But then we get to sort of, what year was it, 2018? I can't,
2018.
2018. Yeah. So 7 years later, the idea of saying the opposite would have had probably a similar reaction. Do you know what I mean? By then, in only 7 years, the pendulum swung and the country voted for it.
Yeah.
Okay, so like perhaps what goes on there, it's like suddenly at a certain point during that 7 or 8 year period, 7 year period, the politicians suddenly woke up to that's what the majority view was, and maybe that's what will happen with drugs. Again, look, legalising drugs is extreme. I acknowledge that. But law reform around drugs is absolutely critically important right now, and we should be moving on with that.
Yeah, and you're just kind of setting the benchmark. Like, it's not going to happen overnight, but you're putting a kind of goal down the track and then starting the conversation.
Again, I just cannot stress enough how sort of far out and off base I am in terms of this issue with many politicians. My own party leader has sort of, very firmly said we don't agree with that stuff.
Do you think it's your business background that gave you that kind of, because like I found your time in kind of parliament interesting you've obviously got the business experience, and Declan and I talk about it all the time. It's like, if we don't make a decision or don't move forward, the consequences are very severe and very real and very quick. And you've almost got that business experience and you've gone into politics. So maybe that makes you a bit of an oddball, that you're like, there's a problem, we're going to fix it. And then now I'm getting all this kind of external or internal pressure. Is that kind of, do you think that's how, when you got in, that when you tried to make all these changes like you would in a business, it kind of caused this kind of backlash and friction, which was like hard to deal with? Like, I've never been in the public eye, so I've never had to deal with kind of bad press or anything like that. But that must at some point become hard to deal with.
Well, politics is a very difficult game. As they say, it's the art of the possible.
Yeah, Robbie Catter said it's like being, what do you say, stabbed? he just said every time he went in, it's like being attacked, basically. Yeah, and you know what you're in for.
By the way, he's one hell of a nice guy.
Yeah, super nice guy.
He's the real deal. I've got a lot of time for him. But look, it's a very difficult game. For people outside, it is actually difficult to understand how challenging it is to get stuff done in today's environment. Well, it's just there's sort of all these disparate interests, not just between, say, the Labor Party and the LNP and, say, the Greens, etc. It's just within your own party there's a diversity of views, okay? So we talked about gay marriage before, back in the period 2012 to 2015, out of something like 70 or so, 75 or so MPs, there wouldn't have been a unanimous sort of view there wouldn't have been a strong view backing me initially. So there are lots of different perspectives and views that have to be accommodated. So that's a challenging thing. Then there's the issue about the media, and it is really hard to govern in an era where every day the media expect stories and want to cover and
clickbait
and the clickbait thing and all that sort of stuff. So it's very competitive for them because newsrooms have been downsized, and
everyone can be media now.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, like what we're doing right now today. So, but I approached politics to get things done. That's my whole thing. And what annoys me then is because the game is so hard these days. Many good people do get one thing that, geez, do I really want to do that? Would I really put myself through that? Would I put my spouse, my partner, my kids through that? And people go,
Did your parents influence you to get into it?
No, we can come back to that. I actually probably should have watched what was going on. Yeah, but it's harder today than it was back then. By the way, it was in contrast. It was back then. It was sort of like a very very gentle era. But today is relentless and ruthless. But I wanted to get stuff done and I went in it for that reason, but we've got lots of people who have become politicians now because of what I just said about not, good people not wanting to and capable people not wanting to be involved.